Welcome everyone. Today we bring you the first round from our latest tournament, Intothebadlands, that took place March 5th in Lisbon, Portugal, making the start of yet another year of cEDH tournaments. Before we start and show the players for this match, we would like to thank our sponsors. If you're looking for a way to pimp out your deck, you should consider Alter Sleeves. Alter Sleeves is an incredible way to make your deck shine without physically altering or damaging your cards, and you can choose from a huge stock of cards and take your deck to the next level. Check out altersleeves.com and use the code cEDH Portuguese League for a 5% discount on your checkout, or use the affiliate link in the description below. Also, if you would like to support us, please consider becoming a patron. It really helps us bringing you this kind of content, more tournaments, and better quality overall. Link in the description below. Let's begin. First off, we have Danilo playing Kenrith the Returned King. He keeps a Force of Will, a Misdirection, an Arcane Signet, a Lotus Petal, a Oath of Druids, a Scrubland, and the Demonic Consultation. Next up, we have Diogo playing Varolz the Scar-Striped, keeping an Exotic Orchard, a Command Tower, a Demonic Tutor, a Veil of Summer, Toxic Deluge, and putting to the bottom a Melira and the Lesser Masticore. Then we have João Pedro playing Winota, General of Forces, keeping a Thorn of Amethyst, Dockside Extortionist, Mountain, Mana Vault, Bloodstained Mire, Deflecting Swat, and putting to the bottom a Path to Exile. After we got Gia playing Tymna and Malcolm, keeping a Flooded Strand, a Doughty Voidwalker, Gitaxian Probe, an Ad Nauseam, Dam, Ancient Tomb, and putting to the bottom a Bolus Citadel. João draws, plays a Bloodstained Mire, cracks it to fetch a Plateau, and plays Mana Vault, using it to cast Thorn of Amethyst. Danilo quickly uses Force of Will, exiling a Misdirection. João ends his turn after placing the artifact in the graveyard. For his turn, Diogo simply draws, plays Command Tower and passes. Fair magic. Gia draws, plays a Flooded Strand, and then cracks it for Underground Sea. Paying 2 life, Gia plays a Gitaxian Probe, targeting Danilo. After looking at Danilo's first 7, he ends his turn. After his draw step, Danilo plays a Scrubland and a Lotus Petal. Using the petal for green, he then plays a Oath of Druids. Target opponents are now confused. After everyone gets their turn reading Oath of Druids, João goes for his turn. The Oath of Druids will trigger every upkeep, but we will only mention it when it's relevant. João loses a life to the Mana Vault, draws, drops a mountain, and passes. Diogo draws, plays an Underground Stadium, and casts a Demonic Tutor. After everyone passes priority, he fetches for a card to his hand and attempts to end his turn. At Diogo's end step, Gia plays a Mystical Tutor, getting a Dark Ritual to the top of his deck. Drawing his Dark Ritual, Gia plays an Ancient Tomb, casts a Tutored Dark Ritual and attempts an Ad Nauseam main phase. Everyone passes priority and Ad Nauseam starts to resolve. He reveals a bunch of pretty foil expensive cards, with some important mentions such as Vampiric Tutor, Tassa, Imperial Seal, but unfortunately no 0 cost fast mana. Going to his discard step, he discards a few of the many cards put into hand and ends his turn. Drawing, Danilo plays a Tundra and passes. For his third turn, Mana Vault is still tapped, so João takes 1, draws and plays Soken Zan. Exiling a Simian Spirit Guide, he then plays Winota from the command zone and passes. Diogo chooses to skip the Oath of Druids trigger, draws, plays a Wooded Foothills and passes. Oath of Druids triggers on his upkeep and Gia goes for it, putting some cards in the bin until he reveals a Grand Abolisher, putting it into play. Before draw, he plays a Vampiric Tutor, losing 2 life and getting a card to the top of his deck. After drawing the tutored card, he plays a Polluted Delta and loses a life to fetch for a Tundra. Plays an Arcane Signet and ends his turn. Danilo cheerfully starts revealing cards in his upkeep for the Oath of Druids trigger. He reveals a bunch of interaction until hitting Lear, Disciple of the Drowned. For clarity, Danilo separates his castable cards with Lear to the side. Still before draw, the table talks about how likely it is that Danilo wins the game if Lear stays in the battlefield with his grave looking like that. The aftermath of the discussion is Diogo using Assassin's Trophy, targeting Lear. In response, Danilo plays Silence from his grave, exiling it after resolution. Still, with Assassin's Trophy on the stack, Danilo also casts a Noxious Revival, paying 2 life and targeting Lotus Petal. The Noxious gets exiled. He puts Lotus Petal to the top of his deck. Danilo also casts a Chain of Vapor from his grave, targeting Grand Abolisher. Gia copies it, sacrificing Ancient Tomb and targeting Winota. In response, João uses his Deflecting Swat to change the target to his Mana Vault. João then decided not to copy it. The Assassin's Trophy then resolves, destroying Lear, and Danilo does not search for a land, due to not having a basic one and preferring to keep Petal on the top of the deck. And finally, Danilo goes for his draw step. He plays the Lotus Petal he just drew, and passes the turn. João begins his turn, draws, plays a Mana Vault, follows it with a Dockside Extortionist, creating 3 treasures. He plays a Recruiter of the God, using 1 treasure, ETBs, and gets a Ginger Brew to his hand. He then plays the Ginger Brew and goes for attacks. With a Hasty Cookie and Winota, he attacks Gia, and with the Winota trigger, reveals a Magus of the Moon. After damage, Gia is left at 1 life. Cracking his last 2 treasures, he casts Talia, Guardian of Trapen. In response, Gia plays a Demonic Consultation, naming Guillemot's Will. It resolves, and after Gia exiles some cards, João ends his turn. Diogo finally decides to trigger the Oath, revealing some cards to the grave, even stopping on a Marlin of the Moon song, which he puts onto the battlefield. On his draw step, Marlin triggers and Diogo tutors for a card. Plays an Exotic Orchard and passes. Gia goes for his turn, triggering Oath of Druids and Marlin, hoping to survive Marlin's ability. He hits an Ocean Thief, Marlin triggers, and he dies to the life cost. Danilo, not having any more creatures in his deck, decided to skip Oath. Marlin triggers, but everyone forgets. At some point they noticed but agreed among the table that a rollback was not needed. So, Danilo draws, cracks his Petal for black mana, and plays a Tainted Pact, stopping on Otherworld Breach. Danilo ends his turn. João loses 1 life for Mana Vault, then Marlin triggers, getting João for another 3 life, and letting him search for a card to his hand. Then João begins main phase by playing a Loyal Apprentice. He goes straight after this to his attack phase, having Loyal Apprentice trigger because Winota is in play, creating a hasty top tier. João declares some attacks to both Diogo and Danilo, and Winota triggers 3 times. He whiffs the first one, hits Combat Celebrant second, followed by an Imperial Recruiter, ETBing and searching for outside of Life's Bounty. We go to damage, and both Danilo and Diogo get hit for 9. Balance in all things. Before he draws, Diogo has Oath of Druids trigger, revealing cards until he hits a Rift Sweeper, which he TPs, doing nothing. Marlin's trigger then resolves, having Diogo search for a card for 3 life. He then plays a Swamp followed by a Toxic Deluge, paying 4 life. And the board is wiped while João is weeping. Not having paid enough life, Diogo then loses an extra one, cracking the fetch to search for a forest. He then passes the turn. Danilo draws, plays a Mox Opal, following it with a Demonic Consultation naming Mana Crypt, revealing the first 6 and not losing right away. Exiling quite a bit of his library, he gets Mana Crypt and plays it, following it with an Arcane Signet and casting Underworld Breach, while starting to take note of the storm count. He then proceeds to exile 3 cards to cast Lead from his grave. In response, while Danilo is short on mana, Diogo casts a Veil of Summer, trying to make him X-proof to blue, most likely considering the Brain Freeze. In response to Veil of Summer, Danilo exiles another 3 and flusters it. Danilo then cracks Lead for 3 blue mana, using it to cast Brain Freeze, splitting the targets between himself and João, making sure that he empties his library. After that, he again casts Lead from his grave, cracking it for another 3 blue. Casts Jace, Wielder of Mysteries, activating it right after it hits the battlefield, winning the game.